In this episode of the Rugged Homestead, I'm going to be planting a Three Sisters garden. You've probably heard of the Three Sisters garden. It's planting corn, beans, and squash together in one area. And the idea behind it is the corn grows tall, the beans grow up the corn stalks, and the squash sprawl on the ground, thereby providing a weed suppressant. And there's actually also a practical effect in that beans, for example, are nitrogen fixers, so they pull up the nitrogen from the earth, which the corn actually needs to grow. It's a heavy feeder, so it's a very symbiotic relationship between the three plants there. Now, I had already started growing my garden and decided after the fact to convert it over to that, since I had basically the ingredients for it. Had never grown that before like that, so I'm going to give it a shot. So I'm going to have to transplant some plants around, and hopefully everything will come up good. Doing this transplanting, I do need to be careful. Corn doesn't like its roots moved about all that much, so I'm going to plant the string bean in between the two stalks here to try and avoid as much as possible disturbing the roots. So I'll dig my holes first so I can just come over and plop them in the ground, and then water them, and then I'll put in a few seeds. Now, I've only got a handful of Kentucky Wonder pole beans, so I'm going to just poke some holes in the front of the corn stalks and plant the seeds, and we'll see how they sprout. For one, they're older seeds, so I'm not quite sure if they're going to do anything, but we'll see. From what I've seen with the Three Sisters gardening, you should wait till the corn is 3 collars high, I think they call it, which is saying that not quite sure how it works, but I think this is like 1 collar, 2 collar. I'm not quite sure, but I think the corn is tall enough that if the beans sprout and start growing, it'll provide enough support for the plants. With the squash, I have 7 squash plants. So what I'm going to do is plant them right here in the center of the rows in between them. These 2 rows are fed by this water line. Those 2 rows over there are fed by the other water line. So I guess every 2 plants I'm going to put one in, and we'll see how it goes.
3 weeks later.
And I'll just give an update on how these plants are doing here. As you can see, the corn is doing quite well. There's an old farmer saying, knee-high by 4th of July, and we're getting pretty close to that, and it's the end of May. But as you can see down here, we've got the corn stalks growing here, and we've got the bean plants starting to grow, so they should start attaching themselves to the corn stalks and growing up. And then in between here, we've got the squash. These are the butternut squash that I'm going to be growing here, and they've all taken quite well. So, also the green beans, the seeds that I had planted, they've all taken. If you recall, back here, these plants right up to here, this one, oh, get my finger out of the way, that one, and then on the end, that one's actually doing quite well. It's very healthy, and you can see the vine starting to grow here, and these will grow up the corn stalks. But these were actually the transplants that I took from the other part of my garden. The others here, this one here, and then straight down this row here, they're all seeds, and they've all sprouted, and they're starting to grow quite well. In here, it looks like I can't. Yeah, down here, let's see if I can get it to. This was the last bean to sprout, so it's coming up here, and so I'm very hopeful. And as I said, the squash plants, the butternut squash, are doing quite well. They're really starting to take off here. So it's my little cornfield. It's 4 feet wide and probably about 4 or 5 feet long, and there's 4 rows with 7 plants in each row. They do look like they're growing healthy, and I'm looking forward to get some ears. So that's the Three Sisters section of the garden, and it looks like it's coming along healthy. So if you like what you see, give the video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel if you don't already do so. That way you'll be notified right away when videos like this are posted. And check out the blog, www.theruggedhomestead.blogspot.com, where I provide weekly updates on ways I'm turning my home into a homestead. Okay, thanks for watching.